Hello everybody. This is the Out of the Trenches series with Realcomm. I'm Chris Shah. This is our first interview following the great Realcomm Conference 2016 in San Jose, California. And my guest today is Dipesh Shah with InvenTrust. And I had the pleasure of serving with him in a session several years back at Realcomm, and he and I had a conversation at the conference where we started talking about the model that he's developed at InvenTrust and some of the challenges that he's overcome. And it really fits in well to the ongoing dialogue about everything as a service, about the new role of the CIO, and how we add value to the business by what we do in technology. So I thought it'd be a valuable interview. Dipesh has only been there for about a year. He comes from several years at LaSalle and before that Equity Office. So Dipesh, why don't you tell us about some of the rapid change that they were seeing at InvenTrust and kind of what you inherited and your approach to rebuilding or building IT at InvenTrust.
Hey Chris, well let me start off by saying thanks for having me on. Definitely this has been a great time to be at InvenTrust. For me, the opportunity was really to come in with a whiteboard and really start from fresh. But give you a little background as to who we are, who InvenTrust Properties is. I'd like to say, like to call us a 10-year-old startup, or now it's a 10-year plus startup. But if you go back as a short time ago, as end of 2012, we were around a $12.7 billion portfolio, but it was a mixed asset type. So everything from office, retail, industrial, hotels, student housing, and my favorite is the prisons, that we were running as an organization with the prior company. But over the series of the last 3 years, we've really focused our shift towards retail only. So we're today, come July 1 of 2016, we're around about a $3.5 billion retail-only platform. And, that's a great story in itself from a business perspective that we're able to make that shift. Organization, they've done a great job. But as it comes to our world and technology, it truly has been a huge shift that's happened over the last year. When we were with our prior partner or our prior owner, technology was viewed in a different light. It was more of a service center approach. And my coming in last summer, it was really focused on how can technology truly be that partner. So the things that I learned in my prior life at JLL, EOP, the consulting days, where we talk about it, how can I take the best of those practices and really support the business as they shift towards that retail only? It's everything from what are we going to look like tomorrow? It's how do we locate and retain talent? And how do we use technology as a positive when it comes to that? How do we focus on our business processes? And what can technology do to enable that? And then last but not least, it's really driving insights through data. We all talk about it. The fact that, am I using JD Edwards, MRR, Yardi? From a real estate technology perspective, 6 and 1/2 dozen the other, right? We all use different technologies, but ultimately the pinnacle of that is taking the data and what do we do with that. The approach I've taken has been heavy on outsourcing. And I don't like to use the word outsourcing. I really call it as being partner driven and finding and locating kind of that strategic talent for my internal team.
Right. And, one of the, well, I don't want to interrupt your narrative. I want to kind of have you talk about how you sort of rebuilt. But, one of the points you brought up in our conversation that I think is key is, again, the driving the business insights, you might say, is the pinnacle of what we're out to get, but the finding and retaining talent is becoming a theme, increasingly, that it's often a differentiator in the kind of people you're going to attract, especially younger talent that demands the right technology to get the job done. So I want to be sure that you kind of elaborate on that, because I know that's a key area for many of us.
Yeah, and I look at, that's a great comment, Chris. Just from a pure, for my own IT team, right? Because we are small, right? We have shrunk considerably strategically. However, we have shrunk. So from a technology standpoint, for my own IT team, how do I give them opportunities to really push the envelope? Like I like to say, is we're kind of a small company out of Midwest, and we're actually out of the suburbs of Chicago, but really differentiating through the technology. So it's taking our existing systems, enhancing them. So in the past, I'd say 3 months alone, we've upgraded our JD Edwards system, which in itself was a huge undertaking, but we took it one step further. We actually moved it to Azure. So I think we're one of the first few companies that has ever done that. So in itself, that's a huge win for us. Looking at our processes and how do we further integrate them. So one of the things that we've just kicked off in the last few weeks is, cradle to grave, from budget and forecasting, long-term forecast, valuations, all the way through transactions. Prior it was multiple disparate systems and a lot of Excel. What we're undertaking now is really integrating that and then leveraging our data warehouse. Our document management system, historically it was driven through legal. What we just implemented over probably 2 weeks ago now is a truly enterprise content management system. So it's not just for our property level documents, it's also for our enterprise. So myself as a business function, IT, all the documents that we maintain, from vendor relationships, other things, those are all in the same content management system, so it's searchable by everybody. So it's truly looking at technology as an integrated solution. So as you talk about talent, both from my internal team, those are huge experiences that they're able to work on that, definitely will increase their own resume and skill sets. But then from a business perspective, it's really allowing them to stop the day-to-day, the mundane, and really start to focus tomorrow and back to that data, the insights. So now they're moving up the food chain.
Very good. Very good. Now, you've really created a model there of true everything as a service, haven't you? I mean, that's
we're trying, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, tell us a little bit about that, because I know a lot of people. Well, one of the topics that came up at Realcomm was the fact that, while a lot of people are headed in that direction, there's still a fair number of people that, are housing even something as basic as email in-house, not to mention, a lot of the services. So could you tell us a little bit about your model and some of the vendor relationships you're leveraging and so forth?
So, great. That's a great segue. So a couple things. Actually, at Realcomm, I actually handled the one roundtable on outsourcing. And it was interesting because, to your point, a lot of people talk about it, but we've got varying views, what can be insourced versus outsourced. And the key comment I would say is not using the word outsource, it's really partners.
Good. Yeah.
And, that's kind of the key is whatever approach you take, it has to be partner driven, is number one. For me, walking into it was an advantage because, again, I said I was coming in with a clean slate, so it was really startup mode. And, coming into it, I also knew my organization was transforming. So even when I joined, the organization still had our student housing portfolio, had our office, prisons, and some others, plus retail. But I quickly knew, walking into it through the strategic conversations with leadership, is we were going to shift very quickly to retail only. So you kind of knew the business was shifting, and had I have started off day one and said, I'd try to create an organization that's supporting JD Edwards, that's supporting Yardi, it's supporting not only the retail regional offices, but these 20 student housing properties, my organization would have been much larger. So part of it was driven from a bit understanding the business, and I think that's one of the key things as IT leaders. We really have to take off our IT hat and just wear our business hat to understand not just what do you do, but help me understand, Mr. CEO, Ms. CEO, where are you going to be tomorrow, but where are you going to be in 18 months from now? Sometimes it's a little bit of a crapshoot, but start to think about it from that lens. Then, I come back and take where have I been in the past. So I use JLL as an example. They're an outsourced service provider. And a lot, and some of the best practices that they did where they were using partners to drive certain areas. So when I got to pull it together, it was really saying, okay, what are the core roles of the core functions that IT provides? Well, we do project management, we do infrastructure, we manage the help desk, we've got applications. And I kind of said, okay, how do I staff that? And the right answer for me and InvenTrust was have senior leaders within IT that are the subject matter experts, understand real estate, because that's the other thing, and then understand the underlying technology, and then below them you drive through partners. So for example, on the application management side, got a member of a team that's really driven towards the strategic evolution of the applications. It just happens that he's got a strong J.D. Edwards background, and then we've got one senior developer from some of our prior. But below that, it's really outsourcing the technology or partnering with providers. And I took it one step further where in the case of some of our systems, we're actually handing it back to the software company and saying, if you've got a SaaS offering, we want to take advantage of it. It's your technology. You know it. You built it. Who better to own and managing it with the right relationship, the right structure? So in turn, what happens to my IT group is they're both strategic IT, understanding the business, but they really become strong on vendor management.
Are you there? Oh, okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. No, and that's that's a theme that keeps that emerges is the retooling, whether it be equipping people with a new skill set or whether it means shifting people around, is the I don't know what to call it, but the traditional IT generalist, technician, analyst model is I'm going to figure out the problem myself. And what's the old saying? If you're a hammer, every problem. If you're a hammer, every problem's a nail, right? So a lot of times the teams will tend to focus on that rather. No, I need to manage my partner to figure this out. I need to manage my partner. So it's a different skill set, and it can't. That shift can, if not made properly, it sometimes puts the partnership relationships at a disadvantage and just the overall service delivery. How have you done that? I mean, have you used the same folks?
Yeah, so let me start off with, I'd be lying to say there hasn't been some scrapes of the knees, even in the time that I've been here. But part of it is acknowledging that up front and saying, okay, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be time for ramp up. There's going to be time for transition. And also, if when we have issues, let's get it out in the open. Let's have that face-to-face dialogue, and then let's solve the solution together. I think those are key things. We talk about it. I think everyone says we're going to do it, but it's really when you actually put that into effect. It's like a marriage, right? You don't go to bed pissed off at each other. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
Well, I probably just said it now. But and it's the same thing in this scenario. With the partners, on managed services, we made a transition. It wasn't that, at the time I walked in, that the incumbent managed service provider, the help desk manager was the wrong. It wasn't that there was anything bad. It was just, as I looked at the future, the scope, the understanding of the organization, it wasn't the right fit.
Right.
So when I went to market, it's really understanding what my needs are and finding a partner that's able to meet those. For me, it was a combination. So you take the help desk. One of the things that I said early on was we're going to have our own internal help desk software. So that was check number one. Number two was...
Because you wanted to maintain that continuity for your organization, even if you changed providers.
Well, and also because you think about the life cycle of a ticket, it's not just the break fix that we're talking about. It may result in change management. It may, we can leverage it for asset management. So it's really taking a technology and using it for more varying areas. So it's working on that. It's with our different applications and technologies. One of the key things and why this has been able to work for me, or why I truly believe it worked, is with the business, we said we want to move to more of a out-of-the-box solution. Where historically, as real estate leaders in technology, it's always about custom development. you take the big guys, right? The JD Edwards, the Yardis, the MRIs. They're investing heavily in their technology, right? They've got many, many clients.
Right.
So why not take advantage of that?
Sure.
And work in partnership with them, right? And then you bring on a partner such as a Real Foundations, that in my case, we use JD Edwards. They were able to bring us back to basics, what I would call vanilla. And when we overlay it with our business processes, the business processes, we also looked at it from a baseline perspective. Mm-hmm. So that when we implementing the technology, now my level of customizations went from here to here, which will allow me to bring in partners to work on it, which in turn should result in hopefully fewer support calls, should lower my cost to upgrade going forward, and in turn, from a business perspective, now we simplified. So really, it's not that IT led the path. We're saying we want to go down this model, but it's really that partnership that allowed us to do it in conjunction with the business.
Sure. Now, like for example, in the case of your help desk, you made the decision to go with a smaller firm that had a local, had a local presence. So there was a little more of that relationship involved, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
No, without a doubt. I mean, that was one of the learnings when I first came in. It was really, again, because we were making these strategic shifts, we had to be a lot more nimble. And in turn, what I found would be the most effective for InvenTrust would be to do a smaller solution, a local provider that, to your point, right, I was able to have that one-on-one interaction with.
Right. So what you've basically done now is, in very real sense, you've zero-based almost everything, right? You've started from scratch, and you've laid now a highly scalable foundation, have you not? So you've taken advantage of the fact that you've had all these spin-offs. You've established a new baseline that's leveraging services. So now, as the organization continues to go and scale up, you're in a position to roll with them.
That, definitely. I mean, that has been one of the goals that I had coming in, mm-hmm. is to provide that flexibility so that in turn, when the business, to your point, scale up, use Azure as an example, right? It's as simple as calling them up and say, add a server.
Sure.
Or, you take my enterprise content management system, because we've moved to a monthly subscription, we add folks, pick up the phone and say, hey, add 10 more, 20 more.
Sure.
Hopefully we don't go the reverse, but it gives us that flexibility. It's our phone system. Same thing, we've gone to a per monthly subscription. So it's really driving that, playing around with the economics of how we run our business, mm-hmm. and run IT as a business.
Right. Really, truly, IT as a service is what you've done.
Yeah.
So in the last few minutes we have, so you've now laid this foundation in this first year. What's on your whiteboard for the next year?
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that we're working on, right now, we are looking at a truly integrated platform, cradle to grave, from budget and forecasting, LTF, valuation, transactions. Goal of that is that we'll be ready for the 2017 budget season. So, we're going to be ready for that by October of this year. That's going to be huge. Business intelligence, we're just getting to, release one, which will be coming this summer, and then we'll continue to evolve that. We'll be spending time with our folks on the leasing side to really create that integrated deal pipeline solution. Those are kind of some of the big projects that are happening. Along the ways, we're moving everything to Azure. Mm-hmm. So that, so there's a big focus there. Those are the top 3, 4, and then, just continually learn and evolve what IT does on a day-to-day basis, because, you know this from your prior world, right? It's never enough, right? We've got to continue evolving every day.
Right. It's a great story, Dipesh. I mean, you're really modeling for us the 21st century CIO in commercial real estate, and how to advance the game. And it's a nice story of what you've done there, and look forward to keeping up with you on that. And
well, thank you.
Yeah,
thanks, Chris.
Thanks for your contribution to the industry. I know you were a Cortec advisor, and you've participated a lot, and we appreciate your input into the industry. And it was good seeing you at the conference.
Likewise, definitely let me know when you're in Chicago next.
Okay, thanks. Same thing to you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.